Good morning, everybody. It's Marty Forrest. I am a soul coach. I help people clear the mental static. I think that's the evolution of my title, clearing the mental static so you can shine your light in the world. My website is Hello Extraordinary Life. You can go there and get your free offer. Steps to, it's actually right now still labeled 3 Steps to Reprogramming Your Negative Self-Talk. But it's a great guide to begin that process of managing the thoughts and emotion and becoming aware of them. Also, there's a place to look at what I do individually as coaching, personal coaching, and for a course I do for 6 weeks. The next one begins in October. I don't think I have a date on there yet, but October 13th will be the next one. And today our conversation is about clearing that mental static. I went with that because that's just where I've been lately, about how that static gets in the way of our thinking clearly and hearing any kind of intuitiveness or higher message than the stuff that clouds the channels. When I think of mental static, I think of the things that get in our way, the negative things, the heavy things. We get triggered by something, get out of routine about something, and then the thoughts kick in, and that's like the static. So when we're on our radio station and we get away from the tower or the channel, and we start hearing static, it's about retuning so that we can clear that static. So similar to that radio station, it's learning how to retune our thoughts so that we can be that clear channel for our intuitive self and our happy self and the things that make us feel good instead of sabotaging and self-doubting and reacting. Like one big fat button. Most of my life I was one big fat button, and so it's all static. There was no clarity at all. And I'd have once in a while, because I wasn't really tuning to that, I'd have that intuitive thought kind of float through, and then later I'd go, oh, that's what that was. But I wasn't really tuned into that, so I didn't listen because there was too much other activity and just static clouding my brain to be able to hear anything other than that. It's a challenging place to live in, and many of us do, because that's what we know and that's what we've learned over our life. And those kind of thoughts, the patterns. I was in a meetup group the other day, and somebody called it a loop, and I thought it's kind of a loop. I like to think of it as a spiral. So because each time we go through something, we're at least going up a spiral and collecting the tools along the way. And I get the loop because we may get off of the loop, or maybe a roller coaster ride. That loop of a roller coaster ride goes up and down, and any moment I can choose to get off. And I say that lightly. It's more challenging until we learn how to be able to get off the ride and stop the mental masturbation, the static, if you will, and be able to have some perspective or have some clarity of thought about what's really going on. And sometimes that, depending on what's been triggered, that static gets really loud. Reminds me of the emergency when the TV comes on, and remember the old PBS broadcast emergency, and that high pitch, that sometimes that just drowns everything else out. And until I can stop that noise, that's all I can hear. Sometimes I think of it as that app, like we have apps on our phone that run in the background. I think of that static sometimes as maybe a low-grade static that runs in our background of our mind. Even though we may not be focused on it, it still runs in that background. And at any given moment, you touch it just right, or you turn it up just right because you got triggered by something, and all those thoughts of doubt and criticism and judgment, self-hatred those kind of things start kicking in. And then we're in the loop again. So, I say it's a choice. And it is, however, if we're not even aware of it or attempting to become mindful and aware of it, we're held hostage. We're held hostage by those thoughts and patterns and beliefs because we don't know anything else, and we don't know how to do anything else. And until there's like that point of, okay, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. How can I do this different? What can I do different? It's at that moment that we open the door to begin to even look and to open that consciousness, to shine some light in there, to be able to see that there's something else other than what we're doing. But until then, we're pretty much hostage, victim of circumstance. Being that hostage and victim of circumstance it's a chemical reaction in our body. The wound gets touched. The wound is something that usually happens in childhood, almost always 99.999% of the time. Maybe it's some generational trauma, but it gets touched. We're reacting, chemical reaction in our body. Then there is no choice until we start attempting to get in front of it and become aware of it. Or maybe there's that moment of clarity that's like, oh, crap, I'm doing this again. And then we stop. So when we do that, we're disrupting the brain pattern because the loop is that neural pathway in the brain, that neural pathway that we've been running until it gets really deep. And we don't know how to get out of it once we're in it. Then we have that moment of clarity, or that moment of when somebody's in hysteria and they get smacked because it shocks them. Sometimes it has to be something that shocks us out of where we're at. Sometimes it is that moment of clarity where like spirit or God or whatever you call that just goes, hey, what about this? And it disrupts the pattern. I'm inviting us to get in front of that. Do it before you get to that reaction place. Create a plan maybe before you get to that reaction place. I have found that really helpful when I know I get triggered by my mom. My mom's just a good example because I haven't been triggered by her in a while, but it was pretty consistent because I had a big mom wound that I carried for my life. And so I'd come up with a plan knowing that how I got triggered. Because in hindsight, always I can look back and go, oh, this is what triggered me, and this is why I got triggered. And then I could come up with a plan about what do I want to do different. It's not if, it's when it happens again. So making a plan, becoming aware of it. Now the awareness comes maybe in hindsight of the incident, but the plan comes from the awareness for the next time. So planning with my mom, I'd be like, okay, so she can be this way. She can be hypercritical. And she has been most of my life. And how do I want to be different? What do I want to do to manage myself in that so I'm not becoming that victim to my reaction because she just touched the wound again? And some of the things I would put into place was I learned how to change the subject. I learned how to flip it. When she'd say something, I'd flip it around and say something else different, more positive. I might even ask her, why are you saying that? Now today I came up with a plan, but that didn't mean I didn't still get triggered because sometimes I did. This is that practice, right? We come up with a plan, we come up with something that we're going to do different. And then it happens, and we're down that road again, and it's like, crap, how did I get here again? Oh, I had a plan, and it didn't work. Well, it did. I'm not used to even thinking anything different yet. So as soon as I realize it, I can,
Kimberly?
Good morning, I can then put it into place. Or maybe it's the next time it happens, I can become quicker to put it into place. Because we're so habituated to react how we always react, creating that mental static. And then I'm triggered again, and I'm down that road. Now, what starts to happen, though, is it gets shorter and shorter timeline until I'm actually reach this moment of, oh, there it is. Here's where I get to make the new choice. It takes practice to change that habit. So if I have something in place that I can plan to change it, I can always have that plan and says, okay, I can do something different. And it takes a minute. It takes a few times to start to implement that and actually make a new choice. And what's happened with my mom over these years of making a new choice, A, I don't tell her everything. And B, she's not so critical of me when I do tell her. Because I stopped having that reaction and engaging with her. Because I made a plan ahead of time to figure out how to handle the situation when I was in it. Because inevitably we get triggered. We are human. We have our habits and our ways and our beliefs and how we react. That causes our static in our brain. And until we decide, oh, this isn't really working, I'm not happy here, and I want to do something different, I just don't know what to do different. Then you figure out what to do different before it happens. And this practice of healing the wound and changing our behaviors, or changing our behaviors and healing the wound, it's a practice. It takes time because we are those creatures of habit. As much as I want to tell you I wish we weren't, or I would like it to be different, there are some things that are really good to be habituated about and other things that create the sabotage and the doubt and the places that make us feel really yucky and unhappy. So learning how to change, I heard somebody say once, you change a ship, a big ocean liner, by 1 degree. It takes a lot to make the boat move by 1 degree, but you never end up at the same destination. So that's all we're doing by 1 degree at a time. We're starting to change our thoughts and our beliefs and our habits. And sometimes it goes, oh, let me change the habit. Or let me change the thought about the habit first. And then when it presents itself is when I get to choose something different. And I promise, it's not comfortable. I was sharing with someone yesterday about some things that she could set up with her ex, who is coming back into her world and around the kids and professing his love for her. And he said, well, here are the things that he needs to show you. And I looked at her and said, and I can tell you, when you tell him these things, it is not comfortable when we set boundaries or new ways of behaving. It's not comfortable. It's unfamiliar and it's unknown, and we really don't know what the result might be. We just hope it's going to be something good. So that makes it uncomfortable. So I invite people to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because it's not until we get uncomfortable that change starts to happen. And we start to do something different. We're so in our habit, in our way of doing things, that's comfortable, right? We think it keeps us safe and protected, and maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. The question then is, am I really happy being in my comfort zone? Trying to protect my wound or my heart, whatever that is for you. Is it a good place for me to just sit in my safety place of what I know and what's a habit? Or could life be more fulfilling when I get uncomfortable and do some different things that are more effective in my life? Personally speaking, I wouldn't have it any other way but to choose something different, because I was so unhappy and so in that place of self-loathing for a lot of my life that I reached that end of if I keep on this track, I'm going to just die a miserable death, and I'm going to live a miserable life. So it was worth the risk to do something else and to make those changes and to create new habits. And it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime process. That's our process of being human here on this life, on this earth plane. That's what we came here to do. Do I get to do it for you? No, but I do get to share these tips and tools and hopefully create a new space for you to step into and utilize. Maybe in a shorter way, maybe a shortcut for you instead of doing that school of hard knocks and learning it so much of the hard way. So that's what I got for today. I heard someone else come on and get off, I guess. Are you still there?